you. I really need your love right now. I'm fading fast, not gonna last. I'm really stupid, I'm burning up, I'm going down, I'm in it bad. Don't even ask. When I find myself
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to have you. We don't have a big crowd today, but there's a lady that came from Philadelphia. Pennsylvania. Yes. And she was here last week. And oh, you weren't. Oh, you weren't.
I wasn't.
All right. Well, then I'll change my point of view. You wonder why I wear this hat. I only wear it once in a while. And I'll give you the reason why, just a little bit, because I want to express something that is burning in my heart to speak. I got this hat from 40 and 8. And 40 and 8 is a big military organization for special people. I wasn't an American citizen. I never was an American soldier, but I was in the Royal Sussex Regiment in England. And I was in the military for about 2.5 years before the end of the war. And I learned a lot of interesting things. But the reason why I'm wearing this hat, because I don't have the hat from my Royal Sussex Regiment in England, but I got this hat from an organization called 40 and 8. And it is only an organization that has about, 38,000 of people who belong to that. But they've done something special. Now, the something special I did is important, because that something special that I did could not help the veterans because of Obama and the media over the years, making it very difficult. So here today, when I heard Donald Trump speak to Saudi Arabia, I wanted to put my hat on. And I wanted to say why I'm wearing this hat and why it's important that you understand why I have overcome post-hypnotic suggestions. I have overcome it in what they call it, PTSD. PTSD, I always get it wrong, post-traumatic stress disorder, and a whole range of all the sicknesses that come from just getting upset into bringing the evil home with you. That's what happens with the soldiers. They bring some evil home. But post-traumatic stress disorder is something that's incurable. And I learned what it was from all my work and all my study and all the lectures I've ever given. Many, many, many years ago, in 1960, I already knew what it was, but I couldn't express it. It was very badly received and degraded. And so here I am now with this. They gave me this as a special, even though I wasn't an American citizen then, and I have it now. And it's all because I have learned how to overcome post-traumatic stress disorder, but the trouble is I have not been able to move it forward. And if any of you can help me move that forward, I would appreciate it. So this is the sort of the day I want to start giving. See, I'm almost 90 years old. I'm getting up for 90 years old. I don't have a long line to live. I'm okay with that. I'm living, and my whole life was dedicated to my Creator. And I didn't know. I didn't understand it in the very beginning. But in the very beginning, I can remember when I was 5 or 6 years old, I want to tell you a little story. And in England, we have a lot of fog. And I looked out the window, and I see a man coming out of the dark, out of the fog. And as he came out of the fog, he became more clear. And then he went back into the fog and disappeared. And to me, that is meaningless. He comes from the fog into life, and it went away. And at that moment, I wanted to commit suicide. As a 5-year-old kid, I said, "What am I doing?" It said something to me. Ever since that time, I had to find out what that was, basically. And I, slowly but surely, the ability to evolve in a very special way, not like an animal, but as people evolve as in conflict with their human. They are always trying to struggle to overcome what's overcome them. When they came into the world, every person sitting in this room comes into the world and is innocent. Pure innocence. You cannot say a baby is guilty for anything. It comes into the world, not only coming into the world as a baby, but it comes into the world that other animal creatures don't have. Intuitiveness. Every child born, even Hitler, he wasn't born evil. None of them were born evil. But if you're born evil, then you come into a country or circumstance which overcomes you, like culture. Culture itself, with your German, with your Dutch, with your whatever you are, whether you're a cannibal, as you come into that culture, it overtakes you. And there's no you anymore. You're the expression of the culture. And in the expression of the culture, you've got a mother and father. And where you get your misery and suffering is from your mother, for the failing of your father. Fathers always fail. 99 9/10% is enough. Every now and then there's me. I know how to deal with a difficult woman, my wife. And I don't feel bad talking about that. She's difficult, but there's a sweetness in her. There's a sweetness in her that I cannot reach her. But I have to be patient. And so I did not have the best of marriages, but still it was temptation right next to me all the time. Right next to me all the time. And I brought up 5 kids, and 5 kids had the extension of her in them. So don't think that my family are angels, but things are, because I have been patient, because I didn't drop dead from having my blood and my mind sucked out, which is typical of every man marrying every woman. And since I didn't love her the way men love women, which is all wrong, which is looking for something from them rather than giving something something noble. And I'm telling to my audience to make it very simple, whatever I'm going to say this evening, or this morning, I should say, is that my journey was from the very beginning, from that moment on, I began to understand that hardly any person on earth could understand. But I didn't know every other person on earth did not understand what I know. And this is not bragging. I was given a gift that I didn't know I had. That everything I did, I survived, and it was good for me. I can remember, to make it very simple indeed, I can remember another situation where I'm playing with my cousin Arnold. He's rich, I'm poor. But never mind, we had fun. Then he said something to me that hit me in the stomach. You know how that is. You get hit. All I did was say, I wonder, how could he do that? How could I feel like I've been hit in the stomach when he only said something to me? Well, I never got the answer. But the interesting thing is, it never happened again. The fact that I questioned it was enough. The fact that I don't know what that is, but I'll find out. But it was enough. I've been busy finding out. I found out, beginning with the person coming from the fog into my observation, and then going into the fog and representing meaningless death. I don't want that meaningless death. I want that death to be meaningful. And here I am. And there's so many things I could tell you, so many stories, but I'm here. And I can see where my family went wrong, and there's all kinds of suffering. But slowly but surely, they are getting better. In my old age, it's taken a while. My wife is beginning to get better. It's patient endurance. But then I read the Bible all of a sudden. I meant to bring the Bible with me to discuss this, what Jesus said about that. And I will say one more thing. I had a very good father. He died at 42. So I never had much of a father, but he was something I can't explain. I can remember a few times speaking to him about physics when I was 10 years old or something like that. And he would explain it to me. He could speak 11 languages and fix anything, but he never was in my life in a sense. He was there, and there was a canopy of something over my home. My mother was decent, but she was codependent on my dad, and she died at 55 because she hated God. I know that. But she hated God taking away my dad. See, I understood all that. I begin to understand that nobody understands, and so I can't ask anybody about anything. And when I listen to preachers and rabbis, I could see that they didn't understand anything, but they thought they did. They were playing with the knowledge of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil, and the knowledge of good is not good, and the knowledge of evil is evil. They're both evil. So how do we communicate with each other? Well, there's the carnal good. A carnal good. You know what I mean by carnal? Meaning, it's not this. Let me bring Jesus into it, if you don't mind. I'm Jewish, but I didn't have to change my religion to be one of His, and I have to be one of His, and you have to be one of His, and you can't be one of His if you belong to 2,000 versions of what He meant. It's a ridiculous thing. God is one for everybody on earth. I don't care what religion you belong to. You cannot sit with your mouth open and listen to a story he has written down over the week, and then he reads it to you. And then you say, "Thank you, preacher. I think it was very nice. I know I found Jesus today." None of the sorts. Even though those words were good, even though the words were interesting, the heart of the man was a book. The heart of the man was some schooling, and then he has good. He has language that's interesting. It's language that's meaningful, but there's something missing. He doesn't have the authority. In other words, he hasn't really found Jesus himself. None of them. All he has done is read the book and just read the book, and you just read the book and you memorize the book, and all the world's a stage, and men and women really actors, right? So you can use words and you can get education, but if you look at our educators, all knowledge and no common sense, not only no knowledge and no common sense, but they're wicked and cruel, and they demoralize and confuse our children. And this is what we have today. But today, this morning, Donald Trump went to Saudi Arabia. I put my hat on. I'm saying, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of the world. Not the destruction of it, but the recreation of it. And I have a key to it. I have the main key to it. With that post-traumatic stress disorder, I realized that about 150 problems, beginning with a little one, becoming a bigger one. I'm not going to give any names, it's too complicated. But it always starts with one thing. When we come into the world, we're innocent. I'm coming back to the point. When we come to the world, we are innocent. We are not guilty of anything. Why? How can a baby be innocent, guilty of anything? Can't be. But how is it we all end up broken? And how is it we get it from our parents? And how is it we're trying not to be our parents? But you can't not be your parent. All you can do is play the role of not being like your parent. It's almost like saying, when I grow up, I'm not going to be like my father. When I grow up, I'm not going to be like my mother, but I got it mixed up with the voices. Because actually one becomes the other. The woman becomes more man, and the man becomes more woman. And there's an exchange where we are changed. Yeah. So what's missing is we come into the world and the culture, whatever the culture is, it's Germany, you'd have Hitler. And it's so easy, and I'm just jumping around, it's so easy to overcome human beings, and that's my end of my story. Thanks for coming.